All right, we're going to get things going here. We're going to let people get some videos on. We'll be starting here in the next 2 minutes or so. Are getting all the MVPs together. They're turning on the cameras. I see them lighting up. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello?
All
Good.
right, I'm going to do a mic check this week or this month because last month I had some challenges. We're going to try it again. All right, so let me transition. I got to be honest, guys. I'm like really, really hyper right now. I'm very excited. I've been working on a project with Mark here recently, and like we're really close at the end. So I'm like giddy with excitement. So I'm excited to talk about this month's desktop release. And if we have a little time at the end, I'd like to throw a little teaser out there for you guys. Rui's already seen a screenshot. Gilbert has no clue, so I'd be curious their opinions. So this will be good. So let me
Yeah.
transition over here to the full teams view. Let's get the gang going. Here we go. Here's the guys. So there may be more MVPs popping in. I threw out the invite. We try and keep this consistent. It's on the 12th of the month. If I can get a check, yeah, Adam says I must be happy. I'm looking at a release day. I'm always happy on release day. I tweet. It's like Christmas time 12 times a year. It's super fun. So. Adam, there's a surprise coming, and I hope you're going to like it. So I will stay tuned, I guess, hopefully for the end of this, and I'll see if we can get a couple of minutes here at the end. So as we get started here, we typically just do a quick round horn around who's here, and just do a quick introduction, who you are, what you're doing, and also I will do a quick grooming thing here for just making sure everyone's on the same page. For MVPs on the line, there is the raise hand button inside the Teams meeting. So make sure you hit that, and I'll try to redirect conversation so we're not talking over each other, and we'll see how it goes. All right, month number 2. I'm Mike Carlo from Power BI.Tips. Just like playing in Power BI. I'm a super nerd, like coding things and doing random projects around it. Loving data right now and doing that as a full-time career. So that's what I do. Let's kick it over to Reed. Go ahead, Reed. Give us an intro.
Yeah, so my name is Reed Havens. I think I'm kind of from a similar cloth or along a similar vein with Mike, where I actually really enjoy a lot of the visualizations and aesthetics as part of Power BI, but also just enjoy the entire tool set in general. I'm just really super happy to be here today. I actually have something, if I can show a little bit on this call, is I actually ended up just creating a cool new thing for work that I think is similar to. Well, I have a similar excitement level for this that you do on your project, Mike. But I ended up just creating a mascot this week, which is I'm very excited about.
Sounds good. Rui, you're a new visitor to the channel and to the monthly calls. Thank you for coming. I know. Look at this guy already drinking. It's freaking 4 o'clock and he's already
I
hitting the
know, that's
beers.
okay.
Gilbert's waking up with coffee. Rui, give us a quick introduction. Who you work for, what you're all about, and yeah, welcome to the chat.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Rui Romano. I'm from Portugal. I'm a Power BI consultant at DevScope. I'm very passionate about data, and it's really nice to be here and hanging out with you guys.
So Rui, this is an understatement. Rui is very passionate. He has so many code hacks and so many things he's done in Power BI. I'm so impressed with his presentations. We're going to have to get him on the channel one time and just have him just do all the hacks that he's done. He is amazing when it comes to just getting into the innards of Power BI. I love talking to Rui. Rui's amazing. Gilbert, take it
Thank
away,
you.
buddy.
I'm Gilbert. I'm work at Mu. I'm a consultant living in Gold Coast, Australia, and yeah, just love playing around with data. Have for many years, and good to be on the call.
Now you have to give Gilbert some grace because he just woke up. It's like, I don't know, what, 3 a.m. in the morning over there in Australia? I don't know what it is.
7 a.m.
Something like that. It's very early. He
Yeah.
hasn't even had a coffee yet. He's already biked 61 miles on his bike. So give him a little time to wake up. Mark, take it away, buddy.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Mark, I'm from the Netherlands, so that's probably why I'm drinking a beer here as well, because it's 11 p.m. here, so a little time difference, and it is freaking hot in the Netherlands. There's kind of a heat wave thingy here happening, but all noise aside, I'm working as a Power BI consultant, data consultant in the Netherlands mainly, and super excited about everything that's happening to Power BI, and especially community things and how we're helping each other. And what Mike already mentioned, how we're helping each other with getting new things done. So more about that later.
Hopefully, if I can get all my ducks in a row. All right, guys. So this conversation is just general reactions to what came out in Power BI Desktop, and this is all, everything here is public information. Make sure you share nothing that's not already out in the blog article. Just give me some kind of reactions to the features that are coming out. Are there any particular features that you're really excited about? I got to be honest. I've been working on some side projects. I've been super slammed, so I don't have a ton of comments. I'm just going to kind of narrate conversation, and we'll see where we go.
I'll just chime in and say at least some of the new things that I really like, and for all of us, we know that perspectives have been around for years in tabular, in SSAS, Azure Analysis Services. It's nice to continually see perspectives more and more trickle into Power BI. And at first it was introduction into the adding with Tabular Editor, and now that personalized visuals thing. I think probably the biggest release this month is. You can now have perspectives for those. So per report page on that personalized visuals, which is still in preview, you can select for each page or for the entire report which model perspective you want to use. And just like 10 seconds on that, like for those not familiar with perspectives, it allows you to select tables and columns to be visible for certain perspectives. So if you have a really large model with hundreds of columns and dozens of tables, you don't want to have all of those available to switch between to personalize the visuals at all times. So you can maybe choose the marketing perspective or sales or traffic funnel, something like that. So it allows you to narrow it down and limit which fields to be able to swap in the personalized visuals in the service.
Now, to be clear, a perspective is like limiting the amount of tables or measures you can see based on user, correct?
What do you mean by based on user?
Or based on the perspective that you're looking at, right? It's perspective based,
yes.
Right?
It's the equivalent of when you build a model, you can show or hide tables and columns. Well, that's kind of more done at just like a single setting for the entire report, and then perspective allows you to create multiple versions of that, where perspective A maybe just has columns and tables and measures showing just for things related to marketing or just related to customer sales, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
Has anybody? I haven't played a ton with perspectives in general with analysis services. Gilbert, have you done some of that? Rui, are you playing with perspectives at all?
Yeah, all the time, and mainly when you have analysis services. Now it's also available on Power BI Pro. I really like the ability, what Reed just said, to select the perspective per page. And this is amazing because you can connect to a model that has a ton of perspectives, and then you will select for each page a specific perspective that will filter to just a specific set of fields that it's important for that page. And that's amazing.
And the documentation specifically notes this is not a security feature. This is just a way of pre-filtering the data for the page, right?
Yeah, that's what I also wanted to mention. We don't have to, or we have to highlight that it's not a security feature because there are still ways to work around it.
Excellent.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw in one in there that I'm really excited about, and maybe it's not the best feature out there that I'm like. There's probably other ones that are probably a bit more exciting. I'm really excited for the Lasso effect. So Lasso is now a preview on data points. So I just recently did a project where I did a custom visual using Plotly. So it's using R and the Plotly package. And the Plotly package does like a bunch of really cool things where you can like window things, you can zoom in, zoom out. And so I was using that package because a lot of that feature set is not technically available on visuals at this point, but they're getting there. Like, this is like a good step in like getting to a place where I can start doing windowing. And what for windowing, for people who don't know, windowing is you have a visual or you have data points on a screen, and then of those data points, you can grab or stretch a window, and then the selected points in the window get applied to your filter context. Have you guys played with that one at all?
Oh, yeah, I played with that a little bit. So my favorite part of the selection, like you said, is
hold on, time out.
Yeah.
Is your background you? You are your own background?
I actually didn't mean to turn that on quite yet. No, but that's the mascot that I made.
Okay.
Yeah. I made something for stickers.
I don't think you can be your own background, but I'll let it slide this time, Reed. All right.
Seems like that wizard from Warcraft games.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
that's how
I
it
didn't
works.
mean to interrupt
Apparently
you.
can
Go
actually
ahead.
add custom backgrounds in Teams now, which is great.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, I love the ability to really just quickly highlight an area now with that. The Lasso, of course, has been a massive improvement for visual selection. I love that. And I think this is a great next step because a lot of other tools have that. And, you know, especially when you're wanting to do a date range, you can now essentially turn like a line chart or something else that actually has a contiguous axis, you know, into basically a window slicer for you, because that will cross filter other things. So actually, I really like that, where you know you don't actually necessarily need to have a date range slicer anymore. You could use a visual to do this.
Yes. Ooh, that's gonna. I didn't even think of that. That's gonna open a lot of
Right?
possibilities.
There you go.
You can
Yeah.
just throw a little tiny chart for a date range and just throw data on it. Get rid of the date selector. I mean, you probably need date selection on the filter panel, so it's very precise if you need it. But now you can kind of roughly grab, you know, the spike or whatever that thing is now, and use it as a filter criteria. I like that. That's a good alternative to like a date
Yep.
filter.
And I mean that's essentially what one of those time scrobbler custom visuals already does, is that it shows a teeny little chart,
Yep.
like bar chart, and you can select it. Now you can have a native visual, and that's one of my number one things I recommend to clients, just as Power BI, is like if you have a category slicer, but you're displaying category on the page, do you actually need the slicer versus just using the visual cross filters, depending on the scenario? And this is just one more way to get rid of a dedicated slicer and just have people use the built-in cross filtering feature in Power BI.
Nice. I can see Gilbert fervently Googling what released, what happened, what came out, what's going on.
No, I was a little bit. I was like, oh, I've just woken up. What's going on? Kind of thing. Oh, one of the things that actually did get released was, I know it's not a big one, was the dynamic formatting support. That you
Yes.
now can have all the visuals. Because
Yes.
I actually have a customer where I initially showed them, said, oh, look at this awesome dynamic formatting reporting, because we've got multi-currency and then we got margin, you know, a whole lot of different numbers. And I was creating a table, and then I was like, yeah, but you can't see that on a visual initially. And now that we can, they're like, oh, okay, that's awesome. So it just makes that experience.
Explain this one a little bit more. So we have custom formatting, we have conditional formatting, but now we have it at the, it says on the cell level. So that means in like a table, right? Now we can go, is that right? Cell by cell now, and say, okay, for this row of data or whatever, we can format it with a certain different characteristic now. Is that right?
Yep. As long as you can, from what I understand, yeah, as long as you can pick that particular cell and identify it, you can then say one potentially could be percentage, another one could be a whole number, another one could be a currency. And depending on that, you could have the currency being different, you know, on a cell by cell level, as well as in actual visuals. So in the past, if you had a margin on a line chart,
Yep.
it would be, you'd have to format it. It couldn't just be the native measure, but now you can. So
Nice.
small,
I think this is
small
going to be a
things
big
again,
win.
but big
These are the
things.
refining
Yeah.
things that we need. These are there's a lot of workarounds to do this, and you had to, like, I guess before previously you'd have to shove everything into text if you wanted to do any kind of fancy formatting like that.
Yeah.
This is also important for calculation groups, right? Have any one of you played with it? Calculation
Yeah, I'm
groups
using
and this.
calculation groups in production already. Yeah.
Yeah, but with this, I also think that this dynamic support could also be important for the calculation groups, because if you have multiple measures with multiple formats, I'm not sure because I haven't tried it yet, but the formats won't get applied. But right now, maybe with this it will.
It actually will get applied with it now. I've done that for my own customer. Yep. So so say is that single format string, say it's margin, so you always want percentage. Doesn't matter where you apply it, whether it's time intelligence on the calculation group or whatever, it will always just give you that format string of percentage consistently across everything, which is awesome.
So for people who haven't played with calculation groups, to go in a bit of detail, and maybe Ruby and Gilbert help me out here to kind of explain this correctly. A calculation group accepts a measure essentially as an input, and then does some pre-calculated things that go along with it. Like, so if I want month to date or year to date, you probably want month to date and year to date for like the sum of sales, which would be potentially a dollar amount. And then you would want another calculation, same amount of measures, month and year, but you may want it for units. which doesn't have
Yep.
the formatting for percentages or for dollars, I'm sorry. And then if you did like percent change things, percent change or something other formatting types would be happening there. So the idea is you shove in the syntax now allows for you to add a measure basically as an input. You then can calculate that measure in different ways. And now we're changing backgrounds. The Reed's going fancy now on us. Backgrounds upon backgrounds. So that's kind of the mechanics here. But the new feature that we're adding here is we're adding in the ability to now format on each element, right? So now we can say if this is a margin percent error or whatever that is, or percent margin, we can do that as a percentage and then do dollars, and then we can do numbers as 3 different things.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Now, do you guys know if this is one thing that kind of bugs me a little bit. What happens when so you have the ability to select millions, thousands, or billions as like pre-identifiers for tables, but I feel like sometimes they make a really weird decision as to when you go from thousands to millions, because you'll get like 0.03 million. I'm like, that could be
you mean the auto, right?
Yeah, the auto feature.
It's really weird. Like I'll agree. There's times where everything, let's say, is 200,000, and 1 out of 35 categories is like 1.1 million.
Yep.
But it decides to display everything as millions, and now you get like 0.1, 0.2. Like, come on, like that. No. I don't like it that often. I find it does not calculate. It does not guesstimate which one to use very very well.
We have a spy, and we have a spy in
there you go.
Mist. There she is. She's spying on us. Hello.
Say hi.
That's awesome. So could calculation groups solve this same problem where we have this really weird rounding error piece? Is that something that we could kind of shove into there and solve that? Is, kind of more forcibly? I feel like what I would like is like a parameter that would say, what's the threshold? Like how sensitive do I want the auto feature to be doing things? So like if I turn it like the sensitivity down low, it would say, okay, everything up to like 900,000 stay in the thousands, and then only after going to like 99,000 does it roll up to 1 million or something like that. Is there anything that we know that we could do with the calculation script to help us with the formatting that way?
Yeah, you are pretty confident you can, because the format string is actually DAX. Where you control that, it's actually just DAX. So you could say it's like almost like a DAX measure, really.
Yep.
You just can say these are the bounds, and then take this, divide it by that, and put an M for millions or billions or whatever.
So you could kind of manually adjust that for what you need. That's actually pretty good. Gilbert, how about you run up some DAX code, and then by the end of the meeting we can just share that with everyone. There's a blog idea right there. Who's going to take it first?
Right. No, I already have some fun ideas. I've been procrastinating on doing a video on calculation groups, and I really want to, but I have a couple of ideas for an old scorecard presentation that I have to like update that using calculation groups and cut the number of measures in my model by like
half,
80%.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
Now you can't make a calculation group in desktop. Calculation groups are only allowed inside Tabular Editor, right?
Yeah.
At this point. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you can use Tabular Editor to edit the PBIX file and create the calculation groups now, can't you? Or no? Is it still no? I thought you could.
You can do that, but it requires to have the new metadata enabled.
Yes.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I'm probably going to eventually do.
Yeah, that is officially still preview.
Sweet.
Direct query is now in Q&A. You can use Q&A against direct query. I can count on one hand how many times I've used direct query. I mean Q&A. I mean.
Use Q&A.
Yeah, it's Q&A. Direct query I use.
Except the demos.
Yeah, exactly. Demos is good for direct query.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that customers always go, okay, why don't we go in direct query? Okay, and we always need to explain.
That's a true statement.
Why? Okay, it's an amazing feature. It's
yes,
and it has its usability for sure. It's used, but it's not the first approach. Normally, what I say is there are probably 3 reasons to go direct query. One of them is, of course, real time or near real time. But real time it can be very different for different customers. So real time for a customer can be by the second, for the other can be by the day. Real time can sometimes be by the day.
Still, direct query is not always real time because there's still some caching happening on the back. So if you really want real time, as in seconds, you can better go for a streaming data set, which also has its limitations, but.
This whole thing is an interesting conversation. Rui, I can't tell you the number of clients I've walked into, and they're like, "Oh, I've got this report. It's really slow." Like, what are you doing? Oh, it's all direct query. Your SQL Server isn't set up to handle the mass amounts of queries that I'm going to hit you with my Power BI report.
Yeah.
The engine on SQL, it's good, but it's good at doing things on its own pace. When you need ultra fast querying for the visuals to be snappy, it doesn't quite work as well.
I've had customers as well where they used Snowflake as a data platform.
Oh,
and then they thought like, I do everything in Snowflake, so I put everything on direct query.
Have you had responses around how fast? I have a couple customers I've talked to who are thinking about doing that. What do you think about the speed of Snowflake and direct query pieces? How do you feel about it?
Honestly, the performance for the end user in Power BI is, as we all probably advise, not good in direct query.
Okay.
So that still applies.
Sure.
And I get it from their perspective, from a Snowflake developer perspective. I get that they want you to do this and leverage the cache or whatever it's called in Snowflake.
Yep.
But still, the performance is not what you want.
Okay, interesting.
And you throw away a lot of capabilities in Power BI, of course.
Yes.
Because
you use a lot of feature set by doing that. Correct.
Yep. And that is, for me, the main reason to say, okay, if you really want to do it, then you really have to do everything in Snowflake and only use Power BI for just drag and drop some visuals.
Yeah, and that for me, one of the biggest problems in direct query is the limitations that you have. So you are very limited in the types of calculations that you want to do. And as Mark said, if you go direct query, then everything or at least the complex calculation should be made on the data source. But the main reason for me to go direct query is the volume.
Yes.
If you are talking about billions, if you are talking about a huge set of data, then direct query is the only way to go.
And I'm finding.
But then you can also use a feature that's called, I think it's called composite model as well.
Correct.
Yep, ag tables and stuff, right?
Yeah, with aggregation tables. And
I've started playing around with some of that. That's very interesting. I'd be curious. Have you done ag table, Mark, at this point?
Nope. I'm looking into it to start using it in a new project, but it's more on an experimental playground now.
Sure.
I feel like egg tables are well, it's actually even more niche, I would say, than the data flows. But there's those certain features that come out. It's like, man, for that like 0.1% of customers who will need that, they're amazing, but they're not needed for most scenarios. Like composite models, works pretty well. I've only used an egg table once when I was dealing with tens of billions of rows, but that's, at least for my clientele, that's not most of my customers' data size. So it's just typically not needed. So the direct query, my comment is, just to paraphrase Tropic Thunder a bit, is you never go full direct query. You go composite model for most of the stuff that I do, because you don't really need your dimension tables to usually be direct query. That just causes all sorts of issues. But for that one massive fact table, it works great. And now with the ability to composite model against both tabular and relational databases, there's so many ways to configure something. But 9 out of 10 people that I see who provide direct query, when I come in, like, things are slow. What kind of use? Oh, we want live data against direct query. They almost never need it. Like, well, when you need your data by? Oh, we normally have a stand up at like 9 a.m. and we want the data within a few hours before that. And so you need a daily refresh. You don't need direct query.
Ooh, here's a question that just came through on YouTube. Dan asks, has anyone played with the table.add fuzzy cluster column yet? Has anyone seen that one come through he says it's coming through in the Power Query functions.
I've seen someone that already posted about it on LinkedIn like an hour ago. I think it was Daniel.
Tabular editor, Daniel?
No, Daniel. I don't really remember. Let me find it.
I want to go back to the ag things. I want to go back to the ag tables here just briefly, real quick. I really like the idea of them, and I think there's some pattern. I don't know all the patterns yet. So I was talking with Phil Seamark from Microsoft, and he's got some interesting patterns. He has a whole talk around doing ag tables and how to use them in interesting ways. Like, think of this, for example. Let's say you have users that are accessing data in a time-bound fashion. And let's say you want a 1 month of data, and that information you want to be very snappy and very fast. So you're doing a lot of like decisions making on that initial stuff. You can put the aggregations at the same level as the import table as you can as direct query tables that do historical information. So you can have the ag table have the same grain. And so what you can do is you can do an interesting pattern where the ag table will hit all calculations within the given last 30 days. It'll stay in import mode. But as soon as you query beyond 30 days, it'll click over to, hey, you're using an ag column or ag information that is beyond the date of that initial table, that you now have to move over to like a direct query standpoint. So the queries are much slower. And I thought from like a mental thinking like a theoretical standpoint would be, it'd be really interesting to make your models more performant where the data is fresher, so towards the more recent dates. And then as people start trying to grab larger and larger time chunks of like data over time, you could give them like, hey, 3 months of data will always be in import mode, but everything beyond 3 months would then start hitting the direct query portion. And it would kind of start changing. And again, I'm thinking this from like a theoretical standpoint. You kind of want report users to pay attention to like what's happening to the latest data. There's always things where like comparing this year to last year and stuff like that you might need. But I'm thinking like if you want them to be relevant to that forward-thinking portion of data, you want them to be on the front side of that. You want that part to be performant. And just by slowing down or doing direct query on the back end where it's a bit less performant, you might automatically push them forward to like using your report on the front-facing data. Thoughts on that? Did I lose you? Adam Saxon says they're great for about 89 summary tables that hit about 80-90% of the reporting. So he says he's using them to reduce this or remove the extra volume of data. So 80 or 90% of it is just taken care of by the ag tables. I got to play with this more.
Yeah.
I don't recall exactly. Is ag tables a premium feature, or can you also use it in
Ooh,
Pro?
that's a great question.
You can use it in Pro. And
I think it's a Pro feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Pro feature.
And actually, you can use it without direct query. So you can use aggregation tables in those big data models.
Yep.
Just to do a intermediate aggregation. It's not even direct query. It's just an optimization for the measures.
Yeah, both tables can be in import mode too, right?
But then you can, if you combine
both tables and import.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you combine direct query with an import, then you can also use it to lower your data model size to fit it into the Pro limitations.
I see where you're going with this, Mark. Someone's playing the Pro game. How big can I get a model before it makes me go into premium? I know that game.
I don't want to play that game. The customers want to play that game.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that one. I have a model right now that I'm playing with that is 12 gigs in size. Again, not big. Gilbert's got much larger models than I'm playing around with. But I've got a 12 gig model, and it pushed us into the premium space. I think we're on like a P1 or something like that to be able to play with the model. We have a lot of data, but I'm surprised at how performant the report is, because most of our reports are cutting like the last 7 or last 14 days of data, but we have a lot of customers in the same database. And so I'm still as shocked by how performant things still are at hundreds of millions of rows of data. You hear about it, but it's a lot more fun when you're actually playing with data at that scale, and you can see it just humming along, and it's just firing out visuals that fast.
Yeah.
Gilbert, any fun new challenges that you're getting with your super large data models? Have you bought like an A10 yet? Is it whatever it is? You gotta go buy the Azure Analysis Services 11. Because you got like a 300 gig model now these days.
Yeah, no. We're soon going to be moving something to production where we're going to have. I think it's close. I think it's about 15 to 20 million distinct customers.
That's crazy.
In the table. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's going to be I've got to try and figure out to make it faster, because it takes like, I've got it down to about 20 seconds and it's still not fast enough when they're doing distinct counts. but it's because it's in tables.
Yeah.
So a table, it's just so many queries. Single visual, it's actually really good, but they want things in a table. It's execs, and they want to see things.
Just do it in Excel.
Yeah, exactly. Do it all in Excel.
Here's your ODC connection. Go have fun, guys.
Yeah. So I'm hoping when I go to the bigger Azures and analysis services models, they'll just be, the hardware is highly optimized for that. As well as I'm playing around with a segment, the partition segment sizes at the moment too, to see if that'll be quicker. So lots of playing. Yeah.
Adam Saxon said he was playing with a model that was using eggs. It went from about 1 gigabyte to about 50 megabytes. That's a pretty good improvement. There you go, Mark. That's trimming models 101 right there, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess a question. Well, I was reading that, and I'm assuming the scenario is if it was a gigabyte, he had an imported fact table. So then he brought in an imported egg table, and then the fact table became direct query. I'm gonna assume, correct?
That would be, I think, the only way you can actually lob out data like that. I think that's probably the right.
Yeah, like 95% of your space, it must have been that way.
Yep. Especially if you have columns that have a lot of. How to avoid premium 101, says Adam. it's just
actually
optimized,
that might, like a title for that for a video would have so many clicks. If you like how to avoid having to pay for premium.
So many good ideas on this.
Like it.
Yeah, everyone else is gonna take all our ideas off the video now. You gotta be careful, Reed.
Oh, interesting. My cup turns invisible.
Awesome. Going back to Power BI desktop release, has anybody played with any of the visuals? XViz was quite busy. TME AG was busy. MAQ Software had a couple custom visuals out. Anybody play with any of the custom visuals?
Well, I had one comment on the visual part of this month's release. I think the pie charts were for sale this month. There are really a lot of pie charts and donut charts in this month's release.
Oh, in the release.
I had a feeling you would have an opinion on this, Mark.
You guess so.
Mark,
yeah.
do you not like pie like I like? I dislike pie.
I like pie, but I don't like pie charts.
Yeah, I can eat it. I like cherry pie, but I don't want to see it in a chart. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Oh.
And what about the text CSV by example? No one's excited about that. I think it's an amazing.
Is that listed in this? Is that in this?
Maybe you know the web form example connector, where you have just a web page and you type in a few examples, and it creates a dynamic table for you.
It's in preview. It's under the data pieces.
No, you just connect to a text file. It's a
I don't
multi-line.
know if I don't think that was released this month.
Yep, it's out.
Yeah,
it's there.
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's there.
Yep.
Now you got me worried.
Well, yes, because I've had a video sitting for that for like 2 months, and I've been wanting to release it, and I kept asking the product team, and they didn't actually tell me when it was coming out because I don't see it in the document right here anywhere. Where does it mention?
It's on data preparation. Text/CSV by example. Rui, can you explain what this one means? I looked at it. I didn't see the power that you saw from it. So give me your perspective on it.
So I believe that this is really powerful for newcomers. So for those customers or power users that are getting into Power BI, and because it will allow you to do something like this. So you have a text file that you have all your cells, but instead of being in columns, they are in lines, and you specify the example. So you say, okay, you just say you have the customer, and then you write the name of the customer and the address, write the name of the address, and Power BI will figure out how to read that file. So if you go into the example that they provide in the blog, you will see that it's kind of, let me just.
Oh.
So you have.
So this is like column from example, but inside the context of a text file as you're loading the data in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I like this.
I actually had a scenario that where I needed to read a file like this. So you needed to skip the first rows, then you will consider, okay, the first line of that bucket, it's the customer, then the second line is the address, and the third line is the price.
Oh, yeah. It's like the cascade, and then it repeats. It's like line, and then repeat, almost like an HTML or a website page. You get a lot of repeating code on a website page.
Yeah, and this can be very, very good for for a newcomer that is just want to read and doesn't know about, okay, you need to create this kind of function and then detect the pattern in the lines and call that function for each pattern. So it's really nice. It's I played with it a little bit. It wasn't perfect, but it was impressive.
Well, at least I can have a video coming out next Tuesday for this. It's been sitting on the back burner. I'm glad to actually see this is released.
I'm interested to see. So now I'm going to go scrape all your RSS feeds for all your websites, and I'm going to go parse all your data down, and I'm going to go make a bunch of things off of this, so I can get a good old feed of all the different articles coming out. That's amazing.
It's really cool. I liked the rounds of feedback they got for that Microsoft did, where they threw us a request of like, all right, give us your dirtiest, worst like data that you have as combined CSV files, and let's see how well we can tweak this and get it to work. And it works super efficiently, so I like it. I love any examples, because that means that people who don't want to code or touch M have one more tool to use and it makes the Power Query that much easier of a sell for people with dirty data.
Yeah.
And if you see the example that they have, the generated steps, so it generates like 10 steps with group bys, with fill down. So it's very complex. So
yeah,
it's way more powerful than the column from examples, because the column is just for one column. In this case, they need to figure out the shape of the file. So it's
I will say though that at least I've had some columns from examples where I've thrown really hard like blob text at it, and the script that it ends up generating for the single column output can still end up being like 2 paragraphs of nested concatenations and everything else. But I'm impressed with the team period who makes any of that like predictive type stuff, where they can account, because it has to be an insane tree branch structure of if-thens to be able to follow to figure out which combinations of stuff to do.
Is this Justina's part of her team? Is that at the AI team that's doing that? Because it's like an AI-driven.
It should be AI. It should be AI.
Miguel was the one I know who at least made the request to help work on it. So
Gotcha.
I know he was involved with it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, you know what, Rui, that totally blew by me, and I did not see the power of that feature. I'm gonna have to look. I only just burned another hour and a half of my time in the evening looking at that one now.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just played with it before the live and for the call, and
I'm really glad you brought that up, because the document we were sent originally did not actually have that on there. It's only the official release on the Power BI blog that lists it. So I would not have even known for another month probably that feature was out yet.
Yeah, and you scared me.
That's why I was saying, is like I was double checking for myself, like, wait, should we talk about this? Like, okay, cool, it's available, so that thanks for bringing it up.
I was seeing my MVP just blowing out the window.
I'm trying to very carefully monitor you guys, make sure we don't get ourselves in trouble in any way. So
right.
Cool. Any other thoughts for desktop? Any other things? So since we kind of went over I think the key features, a lot of extra visuals that come in through. Are there any just MVP discussion topics you guys want to talk about? Anything that you guys found interesting this month, or things that you were finding you're working on? Mark, you have some fun stuff to talk about.
Oh, really? Is it? Well, if you really want to bring in this topic, I'm fine with it.
Let's open it up first for other people first. I don't want to commandeer the meeting if we don't have to. If anyone else has something to say, we'll let them go first just in case. But Mark, you put out a blog. Was it this month that you put it out on your?
Yeah, it was at the end of last month.
End of last month. Okay.
The Power BI model, where I'm actually just reading dynamic management views. So that was not something new, because there are already a lot of blog posts out in the open about doing the same thing. But now I just trigger it from the external tools version to generate a report. And that was, like, honestly, I was really surprised by the amount of hits on my website, because usually it's not that high, about 400 or 500.
I don't know what happened.
And I went over 5,000. I was like, really?
Nice. Let's grow those numbers.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised, but also really happy with it. and that made me really also, spend some more time on it in debugging, extending it further, and making better versions available with, for example, some error logging in it. But I also received a lot of feedback about installing this external tool that can be a kind of hassle, and then you came in.
Oh, we'll talk about that one in a little bit. Gilbert, what have you been doing? You've been playing around with SSIS these days?
Yeah, just a little bit. That was from the community post where someone was just talking about saying, "Oh, how can I query data out of Power BI Premium for whatever reason? Even though it's in there, people want to pull it out." And yeah, so just found a way using SSIS to just query it and extract the data out.
So you're literally hitting the analysis services endpoint, the premium endpoint, right? Yeah. And then you're using SSIS to go lob tables of data out of a model and just put it somewhere, right?
Yeah, wherever that is. Could be any data point. Yeah.
Nice.
So it was a challenge, yeah. So it wasn't too difficult, but yeah, just I don't sometimes understand the logic because you've done all the work to put it into analysis services, and now you're pulling it out. But
it's the business. They do things. They don't understand it always, but as long as they're paying for it, go ahead, buddy, to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So yeah,
and sometimes it makes sense because you can have a lot of calculations in the analysis services, and otherwise you will need to redo those calculations. But that's true that sometimes they use analysis services as a relational database, and it's not. And it's not a database to pull massive amounts of data. But it could be a good database to pull, for example, a complex calculation that is only in analysis services, and you want to get an aggregated view like by month and by customer or by location of that measure. So it makes sense. But we need to be very careful if you expose the analysis services, for example, to a website or something like that, because the stress, the amount of connections that you could have could stress out the engine.
Rui, I haven't followed your blog recently. Have you put out anything recently that was this month or last month?
No. My blog is very stall.
Come on, Rui, we gotta get you on that, man. We gotta do some fun things with you. That's okay. You're busy making money and working. I understand. It's you want to have a family time, I guess, at some point.
and it's tough. It's tough. But I have a few ideas. Actually, it's on my short to-do list to publish at least one blog per month, at least. So
Rockin'.
Well, I think we all share the idea of, I have an idea, let's drop the blog, and then it stays there for a few months.
Yeah, right.
No, Reed, you're always busy pushing out content. What's the recent in the YouTube videos? You're doing one per week still. Any kind of key nuggets in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, so one of the biggest ones that came out, I think, recently. Well, and last week's video actually got, or better said, the one from a couple days ago got inspired from that guest post that you had, where you can split the model with PowerShell.
Yep.
Which reminded me of a video that I did like 2 years ago back on when I was blogging for Power Pivot Pro. Which kind of allows you just in Power BI Desktop to do a similar process for connected data sets. But the one that actually came out last week, I figured out actually how to use grouping, which can completely prevent accidentally clicking a visual that causes it to pop into front and accidentally overlay another visual when you're stacking things in Power BI. And I know that's been a pain point for me for years, because I'd love to layer to create cool effects, and you have to put clear buttons or text boxes sometimes on top of things to to basically fix that problem from happening, but it's not perfect because then it prevents you from clicking on it.
Yep.
And I completely perfect. I found no issue solution. As long as you group the background objects, and basically put them in the selection pane behind, they will never pop up in front of anything else that's higher on the selection pane in front of it. That was a godsend for I have found the absolute perfect solution for this now. So I was super happy with that.
Nice.
I do want to just do one quick plug. Tomorrow I'm doing a Power BI Days, which is that community for free event that happens worldwide that Jan Mulkins often helps organize. I'm doing a Northwest version of it with Greg down from Portland. So I'm actually running that conference all day tomorrow.
Rockin'. On video all day. You got the background just in time for the full
I know.
conference.
The new
I can't
little
even tell
guy
if
that I got
Reed,
up
you're
there.
still there. I can't even tell it's not you.
Right? Yeah. I've had VizWiz as a nickname for a while. It's like, man, I might as well just actually make an alter ego and just have an actual visualization wizard.
Nice. So, with that, then, all right, I'm just so excited. I've been chomping at the bit the whole time. So I've been working with Mark this last week, and so Mark and I have been putting together a desktop installer that will help you install all your Power BI desktop external tools. So I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to do a quick demo of it and show you the external tool and how it works. And it's hopefully coming out this evening. I'm going to try and get it on a blog. I got a blog, Seth has helped me write a blog for it. I did a ton of code work to get to where we are. So let's see if I can make this Teams thing work with streaming and everything else going on. So bear with me. Let's see if I can make my computer make even more heat. I need like a fancy drum roll, please, here on this guy. Let's go here, screen one. All right. Let me know if you guys can see. Is it still going?
Yep.
All right. I think it's okay. So you guys can see my desktop, right?
Yeah.
All right.
You can see it on YouTube now as well, so that's good.
It's on YouTube as well? All right. So let me hold on.
Now I see Teams again on YouTube.
Let me do this. If I minimize that, does that give you... Let me go to my desktop here. Okay, hold on. Got it. I think I need to click a different button.
You need to switch something in the streaming, I guess.
All right, screen 2. I think this is the one I want. All right, let's see if I can get this going.
But we have Adam on YouTube, so he will probably tell you what to do if it doesn't work.
When I screw it up again, Adam will be there. Will be able to get me there. Okay. So, all right, there. I think it's going now. Now, can you see it out there? I think it's slightly delayed.
We see you, but on the back it's a black screen.
That one. I need to click another button. It's always one more button click. Adam says I need a three PC setup with Stream Deck and lots of cables. That will get it to work. Yeah. All right. I think we're there now.
Now it is there.
Okay. So we'll see if I can get it to go. Here we go. We will try and do this. So I have an installer now. So if I run the installer, hopefully it'll let me do this on my machine. It'll then do a little quick installer here. It'll run through. And what this does is it basically builds a tiny little application, and you get a nice little desktop icon. It's going to ask me for permissions here. And so you get a little desktop icon that shows up now. So you have this to go link to and show this. And then you get this. So this is the desktop installer tool. And then just a little about page. Here's all the external tools. So the idea here is I work with Mark and had him help me. He has a couple of asset files that go along with his documentation tool. I have a lot of links in here to tools that I've already developed but are out on the website, Power BI Tips. And then I grabbed some other stuff that I thought was relevant, Marco Russo's and SQL BI's DAX formatter as a link, and then DAX.guide. So for those of you who don't know, inside Power BI Desktop, you have the ability to add an external tool into a ribbon. And so the way this is working is you're able to command certain programs to do things. So as I open up Power BI Desktop here, and my poor little computer is making so much heat as we do this. It's not like
we're basically waiting what shows up on YouTube, because on YouTube you displaying a different screen than you're doing on the Teams.
Oh yeah, it's like 30 seconds behind or something. So in here, in desktop, you have the external tools, and then this is a ribbon where you can install things. So Tabular Editor I've got installed on my computer, as well as DAX Studio, and a new one that came out from Marco Russo on, I think it was like Monday, that he did Analyze in Excel. So these are tools that you can build that install here. So now what you can do with my installer is we can go grab Datamark's installer, we can go grab David Eldersveld's installer for Python. If I want to go to like the color gallery and have that added to my Power BI desktop, I can click it. I can also go to add a website. So if I want to go to the tips website and just kind of view what's there. If I want to go grab the DAX formatter, so I can grab that, open it in Chrome. And in some of these, I give you options. Like if you want to open it in Edge or Chrome, the commands are specific to a browser. So you could then pick a different browser if you wanted to open a different website in a different browser. So when you hit install, it'll say, hey, you're going to add these things to your program. And assuming I did everything correctly, I do need to restart desktop here. So I'm going to close desktop, and I'll get it back in here again. Let's get that desktop back open. And Mark, you can, we did a really slick thing. So Mark has got his tool, and his tool has some dependencies. So Mark is actually doing something with PowerShell where he's able to go from Power BI Desktop, command it to go grab a connection, take the connection out, and then the connection gets added to a PBIT file, which is a template file, and then loads a data model for you. So Mark has updated his script to go actively out to GitHub and go download the most recent version of his files for you. So in case you run the script just by itself, Mark's tool will now update that automatically. So now if I go over here to external tools, you now can see we have all these external tools automatically installed here with the installer. So if I bring up a browser page, hopefully, bring up a new window here. So if I go over to Internet or Google Chrome here, and then I just hit up one of these websites, so this one's opening in Chrome, it'll then command Chrome to open and then open it with a URL. And then in Mark's case, we just did some changes, so I'm going to try it. Hopefully it's all working.
Hope it's working.
Hope it works. So Mark has a file here. Oh, look, it's downloading something too. It's using a PowerShell script, and it's going to grab the content from his GitHub channel or his GitHub repository. And then what it will do is it'll write a little file down on your desktop in your a folder on your C drive, and then it will allow you to say, hey, this is a connection file that goes into Power BI template files. And I don't know if it's going to trigger the template file. Did it do it, Mark?
I hope so. If there's another Power BI instance opening on your computer, but
I see it here.
as YouTube is a little bit behind, I don't know.
It might not have done it. So it looks like it didn't write the JSON. So we might have a bug in that one. But let's try another one here.
It did download the file.
It did download the file though, so that part of the script worked. So what should happen, if I did it correctly, was this would open up his tool, and the PBIT file that we have downloaded here would automatically open, and then you'd be able to connect to that file directly with your Power BI Desktop instance. And then the model of your Power BI Desktop would link to a new report version, so you could report on your data model. Another one here is from David Eldersveld for the Python script. So I installed Python Anaconda 3 on my computer, and by clicking that button, it runs a command against that installer, the Python exe, and it passes in the local host, and the database string, so you can use it. This is like an example that Dave gave that allows you to access the data model directly in Python, which he has other blogs around talking about how to actually modify the TOM object, the tabular object model, and be able to make changes or things as well with Python as well. So that's the big reveal. I've got a new tool coming out. Apparently Mark and I have some more work to do to figure out why it didn't work on the very end there. But now you can add a bunch of these installer functions directly into your Power BI desktop application. So, and with that, I'll go back over to the Teams view, hopefully.
Well, there was one thing that might be interesting to talk about related to the August update. Have you seen the updates to the ArcGIS maps visual?
Oh, I didn't look at those. What are the updates for that one?
Well, they added some more capabilities for more extensive things. But the one thing that I didn't expect is that they were really updating this visual, especially since they released the Azure Maps visual last month. I didn't expect any updates for ArcGIS. I was really like, okay, they're completely going to focus on their own services now, so probably Azure Maps will have priority over ArcGIS.
Are they allowing, is it the login screen that's changing, or are they actually updating the ArcGIS map with like more data points?
It was something to the login screen, but I think also some end user capabilities to have search options in the maps and whatever. And custom options.
All tools in one place for design. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a pretty powerful tool with ArcGIS, and you can use it initially, but you also can purchase a subscription as well. That gives you even more capability, right?
Yep. I have a few customers that are using this, but also had one case last week where they used Mapbox and we really like, we want to have a more detailed view and a customized map. So we're now more exploring in what can ArcGIS offer, but as you said, you probably have to buy a subscription for that. And what can Azure Maps offer in this case?
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we're more into comparing the different tools. And as Reed just did a plug for the Power BI Day session, I also want to highlight another thing here.
Yeah.
This Friday, there's a conference happening online, which is New Start of Data. And the New Start of Data is organized by Ben Weissman and William Durkin, who are the organizers of Data Grillen, that you might know. They just hosting an online conference for new speakers in the data area. So
Cool.
We're probably all used to speak in conferences and webinars, but they're hosting a bunch of new speakers, and they're really exciting sessions coming up.
Send me the link for that so I can go, if you don't mind. So I will put that in the YouTube chat window so we have it there.
Sure, let's do that. Right away.
All right. And with that, we have another one in the book.
Yeah.
On to September, right? Well, with that, I'll let you guys go. I know it's late for some of you guys. Rui, thanks for joining us. Mark, I know you're up late just playing with Power BI. I get it. So, appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for coming in and hanging out. I appreciate it. And let's do another one. Let's do another one next month.
Cool.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Ciao, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'll see
everyone.
you soon.
All right.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
All right.